Okay, so now we're going to learn how to find a minimum or a maximum value. Remember that your minimum or maximum is either the very top or the very bottom of your graph, and it's always a part of the vertex, okay? It's the y part of the vertex. And we already know how to find it by hand, right? By doing the formula negative b over 2a and then plugging it back in. However, we want to use completing the square to do it another way. And we're going to do what's called vertex form. Okay, it's a special form of a quadratic that automatically shows you what the vertex is without actually having to use this formula. So let me scroll down here. We're going to use complete the square to get there. Okay, so we're not solving anything, we're just changing the format. Right off the bat, here's your original function. There's a couple of things that you'd be able to tell about this graph. First off, you'd be able to tell the -5 is the y-intercept. Okay. The next thing that you could do in order to draw out the graph would be to factor it to get what x equals, right? And those would be your x-intercepts. But in this case, we're trying to find out the vertex, which will then lead me to either the minimum or the maximum. So we're going to go ahead, move 5 to the other side still. Okay. We're going to add the b divided by 2 squared, which is 2 divided by 2, 2 divided by 2 squared, which is a 1. That's why they've added that in, a 1. Do the same thing to the other side. So you leave it as this factored form, right? The x plus 1 squared. And then you go ahead and move this term back to the other side, this 6. Okay, so now you have this something squared and then a -6. Okay, the vertex of your graph was 0, 0. In this case, we went down 6 and left 1. That's what the transformations, we learned about that. That's what the transformations are. Or in other words, my vertex became -1, -6. It's always opposite of what's in the parentheses, and then it's the normal one of the number that's in the back, the k value. Okay, so in this case, oh, we jumped ahead a little bit. So hk is -1, -6. Okay, x squared is positive, so the vertex is a minimum because it's pointing up. It looks like this. And the axis of symmetry is the h, or -1. We didn't actually list the value and what the minimum was at. The minimum is at -6. So that tells you a lot of different things just by solving it one different way or rearranging it one different way. Okay. So let's go ahead and take it from here. We'll go ahead and find zeros. So you can find the zeros or the x-intercepts by actually solving it out. And you can solve it out using the completing the squared method as well as factoring. So we already know that we completed the square. It looks like this. We did all the hard stuff. Now you just have to go and solve it. So move the 6 back over, square root it. And then of course, since we want something as rounded as we can because we want to put it on a graph, this one would have a -1 to the other side. Go ahead and calculate it with a calculator and you get roughly -3.5 and 1.5. Okay. So now you're able to put all of those things together in one place. So let's go ahead and do that. We had -1, -6. We had roughly negative or positive 1.5 and -3.5. So like right there. Okay, our y-intercept, I think it was 5. I think. Let me make sure. -5. Go back up. Yep. -5. We got our axis of symmetry, which is right here in the middle. So I can flip over my other point, the y-intercept, and sketch it out. There we go. Okay, so completing square actually gives you a lot of good information just using one method.